Microsoft's Windows operating system has been the sort of de facto standard on consumer PCs for years now, through the various versions up until the current one, Windows 11. However, Microsoft seems to have taken this competitive advantage and is really working to, it seems to me, inflict a kind of a soft tyranny on its users, where they keep piling things into Windows to eke a little bit more money out of it, get a little bit more telemetry, a little bit more of this, a little bit more of that, from the users who already paid to use the Windows operating system. And you say, oh, I never paid Windows. No, well, you did. When you purchased your PC with Windows on it, there is a fee that goes to Microsoft from that purchase to pay for Windows. So one of the latest things they're doing that brought this back to my attention again, there are several ways to bypass Microsoft's insistence on using a Microsoft account with Windows. There are several reasons why you would or would not want to use a Microsoft account with Windows. I'm not going to go particularly into them here. I've probably done it before. Others have done it. You can certainly find information on that online. But my sticking point is that you don't have the choice as to whether to use it or not. Even on Apple, even on Macs, you can actually choose not to use an Apple account if you don't want to. It makes it hard to do stuff on it, but you can do it. So one of the ways of getting around using a Microsoft account is there's a command you can run while you're installing Windows. It's a bypass NRO command line prompt that you can put in there. Well, they've disabled that. Microsoft has disabled that now. There are still other ways you can use to bypass needing to sign in with a Microsoft account, but no doubt those will, disappear as well. Well, thankfully I have escaped largely the Microsoft tyranny by just using Linux. That's not a solution for everybody, obviously, but that's what I chose to do several years ago. So I'm a computer guy. I work in IT. I'm almost retired, so I've been here around for a while. I've been using computers since they didn't have graphical user interfaces. And if I wanted to feel controlled, I'd go back to middle school. Some of the recent user-unfriendly decisions that Microsoft has come up with, but particularly on Windows 11, is, as I mentioned, the forced Microsoft accounts for setup, the appearance and continuing creep of ads in the start menu, the bloatware, meaning unused or unwanted programs that litter the start menu when you first get a computer. Some of that is due to the manufacturers, but some of it is due to Microsoft. And stinking telemetry. Well, they poke their noses into everything you're doing all the time. If you connect a Windows computer to the internet and use something like Wireshark or whatever to see what it's doing, it just goes crazy as soon as it connects. Other operating systems do that to some degree, but not to the extent that Microsoft does, and not in the seemingly pernicious way that they do it. Feature updates that seem like compliance demands, with the most recent one being the example of sort of arbitrarily deciding if your computer was less than X years or more than X years old, and no, you don't get Windows 11, you have to buy a new computer. You don't have to, but the implication is that if you want Windows 11, which is supposed to be fantastic, you should buy another computer. The soft tyranny I mentioned is that it's not death by overt control, but it's like death by 1,000 nudges. All these little things that they do just add up to a big ugh. And there's a concept that was brought up by Cory Doctorow. He's a tech guy and works at the EFF, the Electronic Frontier Foundation. He talks about enshittification, which is a great word. And the whole concept is, first they make it good to win you over, and then they make it bad to serve themselves. And that, to me, is what Microsoft is doing with Windows 11 in particular. So as I said, I use Linux as my daily driver. I have a Mac machine too, which I use on and off. I use Windows too. I have a Windows computer at home, and I use Windows at work. I'm not going to go into the Linux thing here, because I've done that in other videos. This is mostly about Microsoft. My contention here is that choices matter. In Linux, you have choices as to which version of Linux you use, which distribution you use, which features you can use. or not use. Microsoft doesn't really give you that, nor does Apple really in general terms. I mean, there are ways to work around some of the telemetry stuff in Windows with things like Shut Up 10 and other programs. I'll try and link some of them below that give you a little bit more privacy, a little bit more control. But these are all just, patches where it would be so nice if Microsoft would just kind of, suck it up, do the honorable thing, and give us an operating system that works reliably and doesn't look over your shoulder all the stinking time. That's my big beef. Anyway, that's enough whining for today. So that's another video in the can. If you found this informative or interesting, please consider liking and subscribing down below. And remember, be excellent to each other.